So here I am at another house that was auctioned about 2 months ago. It's actually over my back fence, so I know a fair bit about this house as well. It was advertised for 320,000 plus, so again, going into that rule that the reserve is probably 10% more than that, they were expecting about 352. On the day, there was only actually one bid put in at 330. They sort of went back and forth with vendors' bids, which is basically the vendor is allowed to have 3 bids themselves just to push the price up towards the reserve before it's on the market. So at the end of the auction, the highest bidder was invited inside to negotiate on the price. That's one advantage of being the highest bidder. Even if you don't win the auction by being below reserve, you still have that first right to negotiate to see if you can come up with an agreement. So this couple went inside after bidding $330,000, and we're presuming that the reserve's probably about the 352 mark. I looked in the paper the next day and they ended up paying 357. The thing about that is that they had no competition for this particular property. They were the highest bidder at 330, so obviously no one else who attended the auction was interested in paying any more than that. So they probably could have saved tens of thousands of dollars by simply knowing and recognising they had no competition for this property. Again, maybe emotion came into it, because after speaking to the people after buying the property, all they're going to do is bowl it over and put a new one up. So they're effectively paying that price for the land alone, even though the house, despite being old and run down, has a bit of value. If you've ever been to an auction in an established area, you'll see that they go through the Section 32s in Victoria. They'll maybe take some questions and they'll really sell the area and how good an area it is with schools and transports, etc. Being out in the country town though, I can tell you, everyone knows, so they don't bother with that. Their auctions, rather than taking 20 minutes, can be over in 2. This one I went to when Morwell basically said, okay, any interested bidders? He looked around, the 5 or 6 of us standing there, no one was interested. He knocked the property down and said, okay, no sale and go home basically. So depending on where you go and what state you're in, there's always going to be differences in how an auction is run. I recommend that you just get out and go to a few that you're not interested in buying to see how they go about it. Look at certain people and how they start bidding or when they stop bidding. An investor will have done their numbers and get to a certain spot and that's it, they're not interested. Whereas other people will let emotion get the better of them. You can also tell a bit about the bidder by the group that they're standing in. If it's a couple with 2 young kids and it's a 3-bedroom house, you can quickly decide that that's probably the house that they want to buy to live in. Whereas a guy in his overalls might be someone who just wants to come in and renovate the place and then get out a few months later. So what category do you fit into and how are you seen by others? Make sure that the agent doesn't know that you can go up to 350,000. In the old days, if he knew that, he could just pick a tree and bid on that. Fortunately, legislation's come in to stop this, to get your prices up, to protect you. But still, it's always safer just to keep your final price to yourself. So until next time, get out there, get some experience with auctions, and just enjoy yourself. See you later. Well, I hope you picked up some great tips from those case studies. One thing I should mention about one of them was that the property got passed in. What do you do when a property gets passed in? Well, potentially it's an opportunity to negotiate, and therefore, if you're the highest bidder below reserve, you can have the exclusive right to negotiate. Now, to do that, you don't just want to rock up on auction day thinking that it's just going to be an auction and that's it. You should always be prepared that the property may get passed in fact, that you're going to be the one going into the doors and negotiating one-on-one with a vendor. If that's the case, be prepared. Know the 10% rule, because you really shouldn't be paying any more than that, because that should be the vendor's reserve. Other than that, like I said, just go into an auction prepared so that if it is passed in, you have the opportunity to get a good deal.